Plura is a cave in Rana, Norway. It is the deepest cave in northern Europe. The large amount of limestone in the mountains has created the spectacular caves in Nordland. Some are dry, while others are filled with water. A popular cave diving destination, Plura attracts more divers than any other cave in Scandinavia. The cave has two access points, Plura and Stinnugelflaget. Depth is at least 135 meters, 443 feet. Length is approximately 3,500 meters, 9,800 feet. The cave has narrow passages and has extremely cold water. Visibility in the cave waters is high. The cave's passages were formed by the flow of the Plura River over porous limestone, and the cave system includes marble formations that lies beneath the Scandinavian mountains. Sediments, boulders, and sands in the cave appear to be periglacial or subglacial in origin. A number of species have been identified in the cave ecosystem. Diving became possible in Plura with the damming of Lake Kalvatnet in the 1960s. The first known dive in Plura was done by Svein Grunstrom and Bjørn Fagertun in 1980. Exploration is complicated by the cold water and narrow passages of the underwater cave system, and divers can get lost in its side passages. Now let's look into the unfortunate incident that took place on February 6, 2014. Two Finnish divers died at the cave, and 3 other divers suffered decompression sickness. Decompression sickness is a type of injury that occurs when there's a rapid decrease in pressure surrounding the body. It usually occurs in deep-sea divers who ascend to the surface too quickly. But it can also occur in hikers descending from a high altitude, astronauts returning to Earth, or in tunnel workers who are in an environment of compressed air. The 5 friends from Finland looked forward to a long weekend of cave diving in the amazing underground northern Norwegian natural phenomenon. 3.5 kilometers of the river are hidden inside the mountains. Only half are explored. That is why cave divers from all over Europe come to a small secluded valley in the north of Norway to experience the underwater adventure of the Plura Cave. These are the 5 Finnish divers who are getting ready. Patrik Granqvist, 42 years. Jari Huotarinen, 40 years. Kai Kankanen, 46 years. Jari Uzimäki, 34 years. Vesa Rantanen, 33 years. The plan is to start from the deep pool, going up the river system and into the underground dry cave in Stinnugelflaget. First, Patrik and Jari H will go underwater. 2 hours later the second team will follow the same path. The 5 divers started from the pool below the farm Jordbru in Plerdalen. The ice was thick. Almost half a meter. The divers used a chainsaw to make the opening in the ice. Jari H follows Patrik down under the ice. The risks are many. The cold water, the total darkness, what if the lights fails, the great depths and decompression sickness. The 2 divers are quickly surrounded by darkness. And the lights get switched on. Above the water, the cave divers' equipment weighs about 60 kilos. They are using closed-circuit rebreathers. In addition to the rebreathers, which are carried on their backs, the cave divers also use common spare cylinders. Now they are located in the air chamber. This dry cave is a huge air-filled space above the water. One can both swim and wade through the near 250-meter-long cave called the air chamber. Everything goes according to plan. The 2 friends follow the line showing the way down through the maze. Actually it was Patrik Granqvist and Kai Kankanen, who today are team separated, that found the first passage through the maze. Now, Patrik and Jari H are on the greatest depth, 132 meters below the water surface. They pass the deepest point. Then the tricky upward path begins. They have spent about an hour till now. On the way up they have to set aside 2 hours for decompression and stop in regular intervals on certain levels. Otherwise they will be affected by decompression sickness, which can be fatal. 112 meters below the water surface things start to go wrong. On the way up from here the most narrow part to Stinnugelflaget has a sharp 90-degree turn. Patrik understands that Jari has get stuck, one of the worst things that can happen. He is stuck in the passageway to Stinugel. Patrick tries to help Jari to get loose. After a 10 minutes long battle they find themselves 30 centimeters from each other, staring into each other's eyes. At great depths it's easy to lose consciousness and die. The production of carbon dioxide, the most insidious of all dangers divers are exposed to, increases under stress. Jari dies, after not getting loose. Patrick is now in an extremely dangerous situation himself. The last time he put his eyes on the dive computer, it told him that he had to calculate roughly 120 minutes decompression on his way up. Now it suddenly shows 400 minutes. When the numbers on the computer increase, Patrick becomes more and more afraid and his breathing is getting faster. The rapid breathing is more dangerous than the high pulse. Carbon dioxide kills. He decides that he will go up when he reaches 6 meters. Regardless of decompression, he can't stay in the water any longer. He has been underwater for 7 hours. What about the others? On his way up, Patrick starts thinking about the second team 2 hours behind. They will swim right onto the dead diver, and he has no opportunity to notify them. At 6 meters Patrick sees something underneath. He swims down. It is Visa, the first one from the last team. Visa has managed to squeeze past his dead friend. To do that, he had to remove the gear attached on his back and push it through. They ascend much faster than they should. Visa has ascended too quickly, and he begins to show signs of decompression sickness. He feels the pressure in his joints, elbows and knees. Visa and Patrick are waiting 1 hour inside the dry cave in Stinugel. You should not exert yourself right after a dive. Then you can get decompression sickness. Now they have to get up and out of the dry cave. The cave is located 90 meters down and 250 meters inside the mountain. There is a narrow and dangerous passage which they have to climb to get out. Patrick and Visa get out of the cave, and by foot they are walking down the snowy valley of Plura. They are continuously hoping to see the last 2 divers from the second team. But no one is coming. Again they get the bad feeling that something is very wrong. At the farm down by the deep pool in Plura they get food and dry clothes. Then, suddenly, they see a dim light in the dark down by the deep pool. Everyone runs outside. It is Kai, the last one of the divers. Kai says that one of the divers in his group, which is also named Jari, is dead. Jari U has seen his dead namesake Jari H in the narrow passage. Maybe something happened, maybe he was stressed or panicked at the sight. Kai has seen Jari U drown. He tried to help him, without success. Then he discovered the dead Jari H, and he has seen how Visa has managed to squeeze through the opening, past the drowning friend. Kai has then had to swim alone down to the deepest again, before he started on the way back to the pool. He always thinks that all his comrades are lying dead in the dark depths behind him. As Kai finally gets up through the mud in the pool, he has a nightmare dive of 11 hours behind him. Patrick, Kai, and Visa leave Plura without comrades Jari H and Jari U, lying dead deep in the cave. But they are coming back. The official rescue operation was called off. It was simply too dangerous. The 3 surviving divers, and the rest of the cave diving gang, have been prepared for this to happen. Therefore, they have planned a separate rescue operation. March 26, the rescue operation. Now there are 17 Finns and 10 Norwegians in the rescue team. The operation must be kept secret. The police have introduced a traffic ban in the cave system, but the divers think that it is probably easier to get forgiveness than permission. The divers will work in 2 separate operations. They will attack from 2 places, one team from the Plura side. The other team from the dry cave in Stinugel, but not at the same time. An underwater habitat is being built at a depth of 6 meters. A habitat is an air-filled underwater decompression chamber, which is anchored in the rock. If something goes wrong and the decompression time is extended, then it is limited how long the divers can stay in the cold water. In the chamber, They can come up out of the ice water at the same time as the decompression continues. Huge amounts of equipment must be carried by hand down to the water line in Stignugulflaget. Spare bottles, underwater scooters, rebreathers, lanterns, suits, spare rebreathers, supplies, first aid equipment. More than a ton of equipment must be carefully sneaked by hand down the avalanche-prone passage. At both operating sites, separate diving teams place spare bottles. 26 bottles in Stignugulflaget, and 24 bottles from Plura Cave. They are placed at 6 meters, 21 meters, 56 meters, 75 meters, 90 meters, and 100 meters deep. Likewise, extra rebreathers are placed at each end. A separate security team will take them down to the deep divers if something goes wrong. There is no doubt about who will make the deep dive, namely Patrick and Sami Pakarinen. Sami is probably the world's foremost capacity for what they are now going to do. In total, they are 9 men in the water. 2 teams of rescue divers are ready on the opposite side of Stignugulflaget, while a rescue team is getting ready on the Plura side. The scooters take them downhill. They must again force the greatest depth. Since one of the victims is stuck in the same direction as they are now coming, it will probably be easier to pull him loose backwards. After a 50-minute journey into the darkness, the 2 divers see the reflections from the equipment of one of the victims. Jari Achet is the man who died first. He lies peacefully in the water, in the same place where he died. 20 meters further is the next victim, the one who got stuck. They are able to pull the deceased through the deadly passage, without significant problems. They are ahead of schedule. Sami and Patrick stop for the decompression. It will take 5 hours. The other divers take over responsibility for the deceased. The last step of decompression at a depth of 6 meters takes 2.5 hours. The Finns have a good feeling that night. Everything has gone well, and they are ahead of schedule. The next day, Tuesday, Gronqvist and Pakarinen return to retrieve Jari's body, assisted at depth by another diver, Jani Santala. In addition, they will clean the scene. This time they go down the shortest way, from the cave in Stignugulflaget. Third man, Jani Santala, is waiting for 100 meters, while the other 2 go down the last 20 depth meters. Again they pass the restriction, this time from the opposite side. It's tricky to get all the equipment cut off by the deceased, but it works. This time it is considerably more difficult to tow the deceased through the passage. It is physically very heavy, but they succeed. Sami clears the bottom for equipment, while the others gently tow the victim upwards. Another successful dive. They hand over the deceased and stop the decompression themselves. They swim around the place for 5 hours, just waiting to get out. Sometimes the security team comes down to them, to check that everything is fine. It has exceeded all expectations. Wednesday afternoon, both camps are emptied. Then the last thing remains. Everyone goes down into the depths of the Stone Owl flag again. The dead who have been in the water are taken ashore and put in body bags. The whole operation had taken 101 hours of diving time. The group held a moment's silence in the beautiful cave. It is over. The dead have been rescued from the depths. The difficult job has been done, now the Norwegian authorities will have to take over responsibility. The following afternoon they went to the local police station. The group sensed the Norwegian police were pleased that they had recovered the bodies. But they let them know that they had broken some rules and they had to investigate. It was another 6 months before the group was told that they would face no charges for their illegal dive. So what are your thoughts about the incident? Is cave diving worth taking the risk? Don't forget to share your comments below, and subscribe for more uploads like this twice a week. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.